Came across a story. This is actually in the news, I believe, just yesterday. The country of Ireland has just become, they say the first, but there are others doing similar things. But Ireland is becoming the first country to now require alcohol and spirit manufacturers in that country to put a warning label on their bottles. Now, it's not going to go into effect for, I think, about 3 years. But the fact of the matter is that Ireland senses there is a problem, wants to do something about it. And then closer to home, we discover that Senator Patrick BRAZEAU, and I'd like to apologize for saying former senator, he's very much a sitting senator, Canadian Senator Patrick BRAZEAU, who himself has had his uphill battle with alcohol. He's now been sober 3 years and is trying to introduce a bill for the Canadian government to sort of follow suit. Senator BRAZEAU is on the line. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. How are you today?
We're doing pretty good. I want to sort of follow up on this Ireland story, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise, and ask you what it is in your particular bill that you want to see done. Is it kind of a carbon copy of what they're doing there?
Well, it's a little bit different. Essentially, my bill would require three things. One, it would be to find out what is a standard drink. Secondly, how many standard drinks are in a container, a can, a bottle, etc. And thirdly, it's a clear message from Health Canada to Canadian consumers all across the country that the small consumption of alcohol could lead to at least 6 known fatal cancers. And so I believe that given the fact that only 25% of Canadians are aware of this information, that we need to get this number up, and Canadians need to be more educated with respect to the causal link between alcohol consumption and cancer.
Senator, you have publicly admitted that you have had your own struggles with alcohol consumption. So clearly you're personally invested in this. Do you think warning labels of this sort really would have made a difference for you?
Well, obviously that's a hypothetical question. Look, the reality is that, in fact, yes, I did have problems. I did abuse alcohol for a number of years, which led to 2 suicide attempts. And so, fortunately, I was able to survive those suicide attempts and be in a position to introduce a bill. Yes, it deals with alcohol and the negative impacts of alcohol, but this is really a fight against cancer. I lost my mom to lung cancer in 2004, and I fought a very known boxing match to raise funds for cancer awareness. So I'm just continuing the fight for the many Canadians who are affected by cancer, but now also who are affected by the negative impacts of alcohol, because I think that both these issues have impacted all Canadian families in some way, shape, manner, or form.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, and in reading the article, so alcohol consumption, leading cause of preventable death in Canada. Even what you're asking for seems a lot more moderate than what they're doing in a place like Ireland, but you're still getting pushback from the government. I mean, why does that exist? What is their argument to you?
Well, look, the pushback that I'm receiving right now is actually from the alcohol industry themselves. It's up because they don't want the term cancer on their product because that's going to lead to decreased sales, and so we know that labeling works. And in fact, in 2018, there was a test trial with labeling of alcohol products in the Yukon. And after 30 days, sales went down by almost 7%. And so labeling worked in a 30-day period there. But because of the alcohol lobby and how powerful they are, ironically, that pilot project was terminated after 30 days. And so they certainly don't want this bill to pass. But given the fact that they're not taking responsibility to share this information with Canadians, I feel that now it's up to governments to step in to provide this information to all Canadians so they can make better informed choices for themselves.
So if that pushback exists from the industry, do you think, or would you want Canadians interested in seeing something like this passed or at least brought up to kind of lend their support? Will that help?
Well, I've been in Parliament for 14 years, and oftentimes when things happen, when new policies occur, it's usually when Canadians speak out to political parties. And so, like I said, the current landscape is that 80% of Canadians currently consume alcohol, but only 25% of those are aware that there's a causal link between alcohol consumption and cancer. And so I think it's going to take a lot of time to educate Canadians, but now the alcohol industry, they've now been warned, and the government of Canada has now been warned that, that this is a pressing matter because it's all about the health of Canadians and their right to know this health information, because for far too long alcohol has been accepted in our society. But it doesn't take a rocket science to know that this substance is not good for us. And so let's have a discussion and let's start the debate about how to better protect Canadians with respect to alcohol.
I want to go from that, Senator BRAZEAU, to Dr. Tim NAIMI. He's director of the Canadian Institute for Substance Use and Research at the University of Victoria, and he's on the line. Dr. NAIMI, you heard what Patrick BRAZEAU had to say with respect. I guess we can talk about a couple of things here. Number one, that so many, a quarter of Canadian drinkers have no idea that alcohol can cause a variety of cancers.
Yeah, I think the senator makes a lot of great points. Yeah, this is providing information, and you guys asked a question which is whether labeling works. And I think it matters. Yes, it works. And one thing it works at very, very well is providing information to Canadians and addressing that knowledge gap. And if industry and government says, we don't want to tell people what to do, we want to have informed citizens and let them not be the nanny state and let them make their own decisions, that's out of one side of their mouths. And then out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying, no. Gosh, we just invested all this money on having the new Canadians guidance on alcohol and health, of which I played a part. We don't even want to put this information on our website, let alone on the bottle, for example, because if the guidance says, hey, drinking less is better, and if I want to reduce my risk down to a level of even 1 in 100 chance of dying a premature death due to alcohol, I got to get my drinking down to 6 drinks a week. Well, I pick up a bottle of whiskey, and all it says is that there's 40% ABV. It doesn't even say what ABV is on the bottle. So I have no idea how many drinks are in a bottle of whiskey. 17, I'll tell you. It's not secret, but the government doesn't want you to know that apparently. And the size of a standard drink, as Senator BRAZEAU was mentioning. I mean, even that basic information about serving sizes, when the government is telling people to reduce or suggesting if they want to improve health to reduce their consumption. So that's just the basics about serving size, same as you get on a can of peas, but somehow alcohol is exempt. And then we get to the health warnings, which of course we have for tobacco and cannabis, but again, somehow alcohol is exempt. So the whole thing seems to be information that certainly industry doesn't want to know. But I wouldn't really expect anything other than industry. But when the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions appears to be more aligned and is more akin to the Minister of Beer Canada and not to prevent mental health and addiction problems, then I think that's too bad.
It's highly problematic, yeah, and that's where I find it confusing. I'm thinking about those warning labels on cigarettes. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Yeah, some people will stop smoking because they realize the risks involved. The same thing will ostensibly happen with alcohol, but shouldn't our health come before profits?
Well, the government, again, because alcohol is a dangerous product, but it's a legal product, that's where the government is supposed to play the role of the regulator. They have a very strong health and safety mandate. So yes, absolutely, they're supposed to be the regulator. They're supposed to be putting the brakes on because one of the things that allows alcohol to be sold and accepted is having good regulation in place so that as few people are harmed as possible. And that's not just the drinker, him or herself, but also family members or people who are driving on the road with you. So yeah, this is the role of government. It's again, the industry ideally would be participating, but that's not how it works. So again, it's so ironic that the minister announces her support for quote self-regulation, which in my books, regulation doesn't really mean getting to do whatever you want. But right after a meeting with Beer Canada, and again, her portfolio is mental health and addictions, and I wasn't aware that Beer Canada probably does a lot of things, but I wasn't aware that they were kind of big contributors to solving mental health and addiction problems. So I'm concerned that that at different levels of government, we have this sort of lack of interest or actually a disregard for communicating facts to the Canadian public. And I really think this is not about whether labeling is effective, but it's about consumers' right to know. And when we know, again, the nutritional content of a can of peas and corn, but we don't know how many drinks are in a bottle of alcohol. I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah, it's problematic to say the least. Agreed. Dr. NAIMI, I want to thank you for your time. Senator BRAZEAU, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.